I'm Alex, and I'm the Devil's Advocate, and I'm going to be talking about the Penguin HBO series. I'm going to be going into full spoilers, so if you haven't seen the show, I encourage you to watch it. It's fantastic. And I'm also going to be talking about how this show is truly a villain origin, a villain-focused show, as opposed to a lot of other things that claim to be villain shows or movies, but are really about an anti-hero. I think a good way to delineate between what is an anti-hero and what is a straight-up villain is their actions and motivations. A lot of villains, especially in comic books, if they get popular enough, they just morph into anti-heroes. Wolverine started out as a villain for the Hulk. He got popular, became an anti-hero. The Punisher also started out as a villain for Spider-Man. Got popular, became an anti-hero. The list goes on and on. Some recent villain projects, specifically from Sony, like Venom, like Morbius, like the upcoming Kraven movie, claim to be villain-focused movies where they're just not. Their characters are portrayed as anti-heroes. What an anti-hero is, as opposed to a villain, is an anti-hero doesn't necessarily jive with the traditional heroes. You know, Wolverine is not as go-lucky and pure-hearted as Captain America, but they still have the same goal of justice in mind, and that motivates them. But whereas Cap will try to avoid killing for the most part, unless it's in the movies, Wolverine has no qualms whatsoever about killing enemies of his. A true villain is not motivated by justice. They're usually motivated by self-interest. That is classically what a villain is in America, is someone who's selfish and only cares about themselves to the detriment of everyone else. That is, in comic books, the first villains that existed were gangsters, and that's what gangsters are. They care about themselves. They don't care about other people. Where I think Penguin succeeds in telling a true villain story versus an anti-hero story, while there are some anti-hero elements in it, is ultimately, and again, spoilers for the show, he doesn't care about anybody but himself. And going into this show, I was thinking of a couple comic book stories of Penguin, and I will recommend these to read because they are very good. If you hear tapping, that is my dog Rune running around being silly. And here he is. He has shown up. Before going into the show, I was thinking of some comic book stories about Penguin that could possibly inspire this. I will recommend Joker's Asylum Volume 1, where it's a collection of little anthology stories about different villains, different Batman villains, and just vignettes about them. The Penguin one in particular is very good and more twisted than you'd think. There's a book in DC's New 52 era called Penguin Pride and Prejudice, which also is very good and really exemplifies like why he's scary. So does the Joker Asylum story. There's a book called One Bad Day, which is a series of Batman villain-focused books, talking about just going into a character study on them. And I will also recommend Tom King's Penguin book, which is currently coming out as time of recording, and though I haven't read it, I know it's going to be great because Tom King's writing it, and Tom King's a great writer. Going into it, I was thinking about these books. I was also thinking about The Long Halloween, which I also recommend you read, because that is kind of where this whole Matt Reeves Batman universe lives, in that era, and also kind of telling that story. A truncated version of The Long Halloween. The main bullet points is that this is the time where Gotham transfers from being run by the corrupt mob like, the Italian mafia, as we've seen in so many gangster movies in the past, and Gotham being run and controlled and terrorized not by organized crime, but by the freaks, as they call them. The Two-Faces, the Jokers, the Poison Ivies, the Catwoman, the Penguin. This story really nails what it means to be a villain as opposed to an antihero. And while the show was happening, there was a lot of indication that maybe he is going to be an antihero. I mean, the first episode is a group of kids trying to steal his car. One of them is slower than the rest, essentially, and he takes him under his wing. Now, he is threatening them the whole time. He needs help with disposing of a body. So it's not purely altruistic. It's in his own self-interest. I need help getting rid of this body. Now, the body that Penguin is trying to get rid of is the body of Alberto Falcone, Carmine's son and the heir to the Falcone crime family. At the same time this is happening, Sophia Falcone, the daughter of Carmine, is getting out of Arkham after having been there for 10 years. We find out during the course of the show that the reason she's there is because she was approached by a reporter who was investigating a string of murders of women, strangulations. They're naming this killer the Hangman Killer, which is a nod to the sequel to Long Halloween, Dark Victory. And it's Carmine. Like, we know from seeing The Batman that Carmine strangled Catwoman's mother, and these are just other women that he's also done this to. It also includes Sophia's mother. And why she's in Arkham is because she starts asking questions about the night that she found her mother hanging, and why Carmine had scratches on his face and blood on his cufflink, and this is when he's telling her, like, hey, I want you to take over the business. She meets with a reporter who gives her more information about the evidence that it was her father. Penguin reveals this to Carmine. Carmine's like, we don't talk to reporters. Matter of fact, I don't think you're right in the head. I think you need to go to a hospital. They lock her up in Arkham, and just forever. And the only reason she's even out is because Carmine died in The Batman. Riddler killed him. So she should thank Riddler. So Sophia is not happy with Oz for locking her up in there. She's not happy as soon as she finds out that Oz is the one who killed Alberto. It's an all-out gang war between the Maronis and the Falcones, and then they're both trying to kill Oz because he's playing both sides like Mac and Always Sunny. The thing that makes this a true villain story is that he is purely out for himself. At one point, his mother asks if she were to deteriorate further, if she was going to be in a coma or a vegetative state, to please pull the plug. Like, I don't want to be here anymore if I have to live like that. And Oz is reluctant, but agrees. But we see at the end of the show, he's still selfish. He only cares about himself because she is a vegetable by the end of the show, and he keeps her alive because it matters to him that she's alive, and not even that she's really alive, because then he hires his prostitute girlfriend to just pretend to be his mother, dress in her dress, dance with him, tell him he's done a good job. He kills Vic because Vic is the last vestige of like his humanity, of what he remembers his younger self to be like: hungry, ambitious, looking for the next leg up. He's worried maybe Vic will try to take me over, or he's too close to me. He's seen me at my lowest. I can't have any weakness or vulnerability. It's actually when Vic mentions that Oz is close to family to him now that he starts to strangle him. Sophia has used her weird doctor boyfriend from Arkham to hypnotize, therapy his mom into revealing like the actual backstory of not only did Oz kill his brothers, like we find that out as an audience in the penultimate episode 7, Oz's whole story about how his brothers like disappeared one day and nobody knows really what happened to them was bullshit the whole time. He knows exactly what happened. They were playing in them tunnels. They went to a place where Oz couldn't really reach because of his bum leg. They're laughing at him. He got mad and slammed the door. He goes back to have like a date night with his mom, and the whole time he's looking out the window, seeing how much it's raining, and then just kind of ignores it and goes back to watching a movie and having a good time with his mom. And it's only in the last episode we find out that she knew this whole time because she found the flashlight in his jacket. So in this big climactic moment, Sophia's got her kidnapped. Oz is kidnapped. She just wants Oz to apologize, really, to just admit what he did. This is where we get the delineation between Sophia kind of being an anti-hero and Oz being a villain. Because throughout the show, Sophia has sympathized with people who have been abused. She goes to talk to Oz's girlfriend just to find out where he is, and she's got a gun on her initially. But when she realizes that the girlfriend doesn't know that Carmine was the one who killed all those women 10 years ago, and that those women were her friends, then Sophia puts the gun down and is like, yeah, I'm not the hangman. I don't know if Oz told you, I guess he didn't, but my father was the hangman. Oz didn't tell you because he was working for my father, and he knew you wouldn't want to be with him if you knew that Oz was working for the guy who killed all your friends. So we get these pieces over the course of the show that Oz doesn't really care about anybody. While he may seem to, and while he might be very vulnerable, there's an extent of his vulnerability. And it's shown very clearly in that last scene with Sophia and his mother. Sophia is saying, just admit what you did, or we're going to cut off her pinky with a cigar cutter. And Oz still won't do it. Even though his mom is screaming, just say it to him. He won't do it. And it takes his mom screaming, hey, I know that you did it. I know. Oh my gosh. I know you killed my sons, your brothers. And he still won't even do it. After she's confronting him, she gets up from the table, screaming at him, I know you did it. I was going to have the hero gangster of your childhood, Rex. I was going to have him kill you. But I decided, you know what? Maybe I'll give you another chance. Maybe you can give me the life I deserve with pearls and fine clothing and a penthouse in the sky. But she says, I regret it. I should have let him kill you. You're the devil. I hate you. I've always hated you. I've never loved you. And she stabs him in the gut. And this is when he breaks out, because then she passes out. And he breaks out of his bonds, picks her up, starts shooting at Sophia, runs out. Sophia and the doctor are like, oh god, we kind of screwed up. Oz is able to blackmail a politician, convince the other gangs to work for him instead of Sophia, and finally turn the tables on Sophia. Sophia's almost out of Gotham. She doesn't want anything to do with this anymore. She didn't want to take over the family. She didn't want to control crime in Gotham. She just wants to get the hell out of here. And he gets her locked back up in Arkham, which is the worst possible thing. Worse than dying. Because he's got his gun trained on her to kill her, but he just leaves and then lets the cops come get her. And she goes back to Arkham, which is the hell that she's been in for the last 10 years. This is the difference between a villain and an anti-hero. Hello. The anti-hero, Sophia, has reasons for... She has sympathies. She has sympathies for victims. She has sympathies for his mother, for his girlfriend, people he's abused. She's got sympathies for the women that her father killed, because he also killed her mother. Whereas Oz does not. We think he does. We think he cares about his mom. We think he cares about Vic. Because there was a moment earlier in the show when Vic is threatening to leave to go with his girlfriend to like California just to start over. And Vic thinks about it. He's at the train station in the car, ready to go, but he decides to go back and work with Oz because he thinks this is actually a better life for him, that this will lead to bigger and better things. So it's all the more tragic when he's killed at the end by Oz, punished for believing that Oz had any good in him. Very thematic, very great writing. Sophia cares. She cares about very little, but she does care. Penguin doesn't care about anybody. That's why he's a villain. That's why this is a true villain origin story. It's not Joker, where it's Arthur Fleck just like having a mental breakdown. I talked all about Joker in my last video, and that wasn't even really the Joker. That's just a send up of King of Comedy and Taxi Driver with literal clown paint on it. This is a true villain story. I don't think we've gotten a true villain story in a long time. Even Anakin's story is like, you know, he's not an anti-hero. He does become a villain, but he's redeemed at the end. In Return of the Jedi, there is no redeeming Penguin. Penguin is just a bad guy. And I mentioned those comic books because while they didn't play into the show as much as I thought they might, they all do still involve Penguin's mother and his relationship with her, and also just really illustrate how crazy Penguin is, how evil he is, how much he doesn't care about anybody else, how much a laugh can send him over the edge and just make him lose all rational thought, and then he just starts murdering people or destroying someone's life systematically. So I would highly recommend those comics. I would highly recommend this show. If you're watching this review, I did change shirts. I'm shooting part of this the second day because I felt I needed to be more concise. I really liked seeing the Arkham stuff. I wish we actually got the Arkham TV show that was announced when the Batman was coming out. Maybe with the success of Penguin, we'll get that. I thought the stuff in Arkham was cool. It kind of made my wife very uncomfortable to the point where she almost jumped off the show. But I'm glad it was pretty contained to that one episode, episode 4. We got a cool little Magpie cameo. Love Magpie. We got a cameo from Summer Gleason as the reporter who shows Sophia the evidence that her father was the Hangman Killer. We got a cameo of Sebastian Haiti, the mayor of Gotham in a lot of comic books, where he's just the corrupt mayor. Like, he's barely important as a character, which is fine. You know, you're going to have a mayor or have a politician be corrupt? Have it be Haiti. I really enjoyed the show. I thought it was fantastic. The writing kept you on edge, like I said, like Andor. But it balanced everything. Like, there's no unnecessary plot threads. There's not a wasted frame of footage in this show. Everything was important. Everything got tied together. I can't wait for more. I can't wait to see what they do in the Batman 2, how they incorporate the characters from Penguin. If they do an Arkham Asylum show after the success of this, or they do a Penguin Season 2. I just hope they keep going with this Matt Reeves universe, as well as the main DC universe that James Gunn is going to introduce with Superman this year. I'm very excited to see where it goes. I love this show. 10 out of 10 TV. Might be the best TV show all year. Like and subscribe. Please comment your thoughts down below. Say goodbye to Mr. Punano. His name is Rune, but we call him Mr. Punano. You see? He a good boy. And he wants you to like and subscribe. And comment. And share this video with your friends.
Gotham's yours, sweetheart. Nothing's standing in your way now.